The Sporting Edge. It's the fourth quarter.
Final lap.
Ninth inning.
Fifth set.
Third period.
18th hole.
Match point.
90th minute. Overtime, baby. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. We have the best analysis of football, college and pro, baseball, basketball, and anything else we want to cover.
The Sporting Edge with Jon Kelly and Matt Herrin. Sunday night, 8 to 10 on 88.1 KDPS. Matt Herrin, Jon Kelly here tonight. And Matt, right before break, you mentioned how much you detest the College World Series. Would you like to go into a little more detail on that?
Oh, I'd love to. I'd love to go into a little more detail about that, John. The College World Series is the most annoying sporting event in our country, and
I'm sorry. I'm thinking of all the sports that could possibly be worse than this, and I can't really see why baseball would draw such ire.
Well, baseball, I like baseball as much as the next guy, don't get me wrong, but college baseball, it's the metal bats that annoy me. I can't stand the ping. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I admit, I like to watch sports loud, and I have a little surround sound action in my living room, and I get the atmosphere in my living room. It's loud.
So when you see a slugger for like the University of South Carolina, who has dominated college baseball,
very good, yeah,
and he gets a hold of one, you hear a nice giant.
Oh,
that doesn't do anything for you?
Oh, it does something for me. It annoys the living daylights out of me. That's what it does. I mean, regular baseball and pro baseball, any other baseball, I love the sound of the wooden bat hitting the ball. It sounds like summer to me. It sounds like America. I don't want to go over the top or anything like that, but it
sounds like beer and hot dogs.
Yes, and who doesn't love beer and hot dogs? A nice beef frank, if you will.
Yes.
I love beef franks, but I don't like college baseball, and it's because of those bats. Now, they did change the composition of the bats. Somehow, they're still metal, but they made it so the sound that they make when they make contact with the ball is not as pronounced. It's not as how you did it earlier. What was that? Yeah. It's nothing like that anymore. It's only somewhat like that.
That is annoying, though, isn't it?
Oh, it is, and not like there's good pitching in college baseball, and that's why.
Wow.
Oh man, yeah. You know, there's like maybe a handful of decent pitchers, and then a handful of guys that'll never see anything besides the minor leagues, and they're lucky if they see that. You know. And speaking of minor leagues, let's go Iowa Cubs. But season's over. Anyway, all over the board. That's how I like to do it. That's how I like to do it, John. We get all crazy with the sports. It's like a big sports stew. You know, I'm going to throw in some football. We love the football. We're going to throw in some college baseball, which makes no sense because it's Major League Baseball playoffs right now. They had a little tobacco over there in New York with the rain delay and such. You know.
Yeah, they did. I think they're resetting that game for Tuesday night? I think something
next September.
Yeah. Well, they've got another 180 games to fill in between then.
Right.
Baseball is something for me that I'll be 100% honest, I have a hard time really getting into it during the meat of the season because it is so long. You will lose a game, there really is no big hurt, and if you win a game, there's no real big payoff. It's much easier to be actively involved and emotionally attached to a sport like basketball, like football, where every game is extremely important, and football takes that to an extreme in the sense that you've got 12 games, and each one in its own way is very critical.
Or you have 16 games, you know.
Or that.
Yeah, and each game is still very critical. Now, I hear that same complaint sort of that you just had about baseball. I hear that about basketball, at least pro basketball, because there's 81 games in their season, and hopefully they get to play all 81 of those games this year, but I don't see that
Kobe
happening.
Bryant's talking about playing in Italy.
Yeah.
You buy that?
I think, I buy that. I see a lot of NBA players going overseas, at least in the meantime.
I guess that does make sense to me. He grew up in Italy.
Yeah.
He speaks fluent Italian.
Exactly.
He's already
he's familiar with the country.
And I believe, if I'm correct, they've offered him a contract that involves the terms where he can immediately quit the team and go back to L.A. should the lockout end in the middle of the season or what have you.
Yeah, a lot of the contracts that some of the players are being offered from the NBA to go overseas do have a clause where if in so case the NBA goes back on, then they're able to leave those teams and go back. They won't be held to that contract.
But maybe the saddest thing is through all this is that nobody cares.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Nobody cares. No
one cares now.
No, nobody cares, period.
Oh, someone will care.
No,
once the season is
we're
not
in
starting on
football
time.
season right now, and nobody cares about the NBA.
I care about the NBA.
You
John.
care about the NBA. Nobody else cares about the NBA. And when I say nobody, I mean the mainstream fan audience. They just don't. And the widespread panic that was involved with a lot of people when the NFL lockout was going on, you're not hearing any of that for basketball. It just doesn't exist. And I think a large part of that has to do with the fact that we're in NFL season right now.
Right.
We're in the middle of college football, and obviously that is what eats up the majority of all our time and energy. That's the moneymaker. That's the granddad. That's America's
the big dog on the block.
It's America's sport. Baseball is no longer America's sport.
Oh, no.
Football is.
Yeah, America's pastime resides in the NFL.
Yes, it absolutely does. And in college football would be the next one as well. So nobody cares. But even if this wasn't all going on, I still don't think there would be that many people concerned about the NBA. Well, what do they have to look forward to?
I think the concern level will rise as they get closer to when the season's about to start. But last year, the NBA had such a great season. A lot of people that are basketball fans, around here we have a lot of college basketball fans.
Now, how much of that resided, though, around Miami and the fact that there was a giant hate fest going on around Miami, and a lot of people watched the NBA just to see them lose? Well, and there was all the drama. There was so much drama that went on, and it provided all kinds of headlines and bickering and the chat boards. That's the kind of things that sports and the sports media thrives on. You get those message boards going with stuff like the Heat were providing, and it went crazy.
But what was awesome about last season is you had all that drama, but then you had great play in the games. A lot of people want to say that NBA players don't play with heart.
But you had that
last season.
You had that late.
No doubt. No, you had that at game one and all through the season. Trust me, man. I watched a lot of those games.
I know, I believe you, but if you look at what people saw, what people were really watching, it was the Heat, because people wanted to see them fail, and they failed early. They struggled early. They worked their way back. So you had that storyline going through there, and then we saw amazing basketball from Dirk Nowitzki and the Mavericks in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, and basically all I'm saying is the league benefited from great play from just about every team.
Matt, that's all the time we have for tonight. We thank you for joining us, and we will see you again here on the Sporting Edge next week. Have a good one, folks.
And welcome back to The Edge 88 KDPS. This is the Sporting Edge with yours truly, Matt Herrin, usually alongside Jon Kelly. A little under the weather this evening. In fact, we all are. Yeah, it's that time of the year in Iowa. The season changes, and suddenly, I don't know, allergies pick up in the air. It's just been so dry around here. Yeah, so dry. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm recovering myself. Had a little sinus issue I had there. Anyway, that's right. Al Davis, the owner of the Oakland Raiders, did pass yesterday at the age of 82. And I tell you what, if you're a casual sports fan and you have not actually heard of Al Davis, this man lived the dream. There's no doubt in that. He started out from being a scout, rising up through the ranks, through the coaching ranks, through the executive office ranks, all the way to the owner of one of the most successful NFL teams in the country. So, of course, Al Davis will be sorely, sorely missed, but his Raiders did pull out a great victory today against the Houston Texans, in Houston no less. And I think Al Davis was looking down on that team today as in the final seconds while the Texans were on the 4-yard line, quarterback Matt Schaub threw an interception in the end zone directly to Michael Bush, cornerback or defensive back for the Oakland Raiders, thus ending the game and winning it for Oakland. Now, I admit earlier this week I wouldn't have said the Raiders even were going to win that game. But I tell you what, something special happened on that field today. And if you're a Raiders fan, then you know you saw it. You saw it. I'm not even kidding. I mean, it was. The quarterback goes down, and yet they still find a way to win. The star running back doesn't have a regular day that he's had all season. He didn't have 150 yards. I'm talking about McFadden. McFadden didn't have 150 yards. He didn't have 2 touchdowns. But no, the Raiders still found a way to win that game today. And you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if they got a little help from above on that one. Al Davis smiling down on his Raiders. But anyway, it was a great week in sports. It was a great weekend in sports, great weekend in football. Unless you're an Iowa fan, the Hawkeyes did venture out to Penn State this weekend. Not the best trip to Happy Valley they've ever had after winning, 3 of the last 4 at Happy Valley. And last week, I admit, I put my foot in my mouth. I said that game was going to have a final score of 35-10. It was going to be the Hawkeyes over the Penn State Nittany Lions. But man, was I wrong. That's right. You've heard it here first. A sports talk radio guy who will say he was wrong and I was wrong. The Hawkeyes, they showed up flat. In fact, they didn't even get off the bus. It was sad. It was sad. I've had a lot of the Hawkeye fans tell me that Winzenburg, he's awesome. He's showing everything he needs to show to be a starting quarterback. You know what? I didn't see any of that. The last 2 games, they had a bye week last week, so they had a little time off. But the last 2 games, I would say Winzenburg, he doesn't make plays, and that's the issue. That's why the Hawkeyes aren't winning. I had high hopes of this no-huddle offense, this fast-paced offense that Ferentz was going to bring out onto the field. I was like, maybe Ferentz is a changed man. Maybe he's not nearly as stubborn as we think he is. Maybe he's not nearly as conservative as we think he is. And I was wrong on all accounts. Yeah, the Hawkeyes didn't come to play Saturday. They didn't show up at Happy Valley prepared for a Big Ten football game. Oh, no. In fact, to me it looked like, Coker was having a good game, but either the wide receivers, including Marvin McNutt, had a terrible game. There were more drop balls in that football game than there should be by a Coach Ferentz, team coached by Kirk Ferentz. It wasn't so much that Winzenburg wasn't making all the plays, because he did make a few, don't get me wrong. He made a few plays, but not when it counted. And either A, his receivers dropped the ball, or B, he didn't get it there. So it's going to be a long season for the Iowa Hawkeyes. You know what was crazy about that game? First quarter, their Penn State marching band is just blaring Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness gracious, I wonder if they get any dividends from that. You know what I mean? Are the White Stripes getting paid for the Seven Nation Army being constantly played by the Penn State band? I don't know how that works, but anyway, it was just something I noticed, and it was rather annoying. I was thinking, boy, I kind of wish I had they had some vuvuzelas or something there. Remember those annoying horn things from the World Cup soccer games? Yeah. I was hoping for vuvuzelas over another marching band rendition of Seven Nation Army. And boy, Penn State, they pulled it out, but you know what? They've got a few issues themselves. One of my favorite sayings, or one of my sayings that I follow at least, in terms of football, is if you have 2 quarterbacks, you've got no quarterbacks. And that's the situation they have in Penn State. Now, of course, towards the end of the game, they went ahead and went with the ginger kid, Boyle there. He was able to move the ball up and down the field, and even got him in the scoring position. Final score of that game was 13-3. That is not much of a showing. But the other quarterback for Penn State, apparently in practice, he never even completed a pass longer than 5 yards. So if your quarterback can't complete a pass longer than 5 yards, should that guy even be on the field? I mean, sure, he's an athlete. Sure, He's got that going for him. And in today's age, the dual threat quarterback is hot. I mean, it's all about being able to run and pass. Right here at Grandview University, in fact, we've got a dual threat quarterback in Gregory Charles. You know? And no, he's not necessarily the most accurate in terms of passing. He's thrown a few interceptions this year. But boy, he is capable of the big play. He can run. He run like the wind. He's very, very fast, makes moves, gets open, gets downfield, scores. You know, and he passes. He completes a good percentage. Sometimes they just go to the other team. But that's what I'm saying, everybody, okay? It's that dual threat quarterback thing that's so hot right now. And the coaching staff, and I will say coaching staff, I won't say Joe Paterno, because he's obviously not in charge over there at Penn State. They go into this Big Ten season with two quarterbacks, and they're literally switching off every possession. That's just terrible. That is just terrible. And at halftime, one of the saddest things I've ever seen, they talked to Joe Paterno, Joe Pa, walking into the locker room, getting ready to fire up his troops for the second half. No, not even close. You know, the sideline reporter asked Joe Paterno a couple of questions, and he barely knew the answers. He is simply a figurehead, ladies and gentlemen. He is currently making a mockery of the head coaching position at every college football team. Okay? Joe Paterno, he's a living legend. He's won a couple of national championships. He's linebacker U. He's had countless players go into the NFL. Graduates a good percentage over there at Penn State. But you know what? He is only the head coach in title alone. Yeah, he's not even, he doesn't make any decisions on that team anymore. When asked who was going to start the second half, did he have an answer? No, absolutely not. He said he had to talk to his staff and he just didn't know. At least you're being honest there, Joe Pa. You're being honest there. You don't know, do you? You don't have the slightest clue on what's going on with your football team. But you know what? You know what? He is loved and he is respected, and he should be. However, he should respect the game back and step down. So, how about that college football Saturday yesterday? Pretty exciting. I thought so. You know, I'd love to sit here and talk Big Ten all night, even though there was a pretty big game between Nebraska and Ohio State. Nebraska pulled that out, but we all know where the real talent is. We all know where the good games are. You got to go to the SEC. Yeah, I'm in the Midwest, and I'm talking football from down south. That's right. Want to know why? Number one team in the country right now, LSU. Number two, Alabama. Yeah. But I got to give big ups to Wisconsin, currently ranked 4th in the coaches poll. Big Ten representing big right there. That's right, Wisconsin. Got a running game like you wouldn't believe, got defense like you wouldn't believe, and a quarterback that can actually throw the ball. Crazy, I know. But you know what cracked me up the most yesterday? It's something that I see, I always kind of complain about the NFL and them being a no-fun league sometimes. But no. It's college football now. They're the no-fun league. And it's all the University of Miami's fault. Crazy hurricanes, scoring touchdowns and high-stepping into the end zone. Yeah, no. So yesterday, all right, LSU, their punter, there's a brilliant fake punt. Great design. Next thing you know, he is running down the field. The punter, mind you, is running. He's sprinting down the field, and he's going to score, going along the left sideline, and about 5 yards out, he sort of spreads his arms just a hair, just a little, and sort of looks inward, you know, because he's a punter about to score a touchdown. And you know what? As he crossed the goal line, they call a penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct. What? Unsportsmanlike conduct from a punter who's about to score a touchdown on a fake punt? That is ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, that's what I think. I mean, for Pete's sake, let them play. Let them have some fun. These are kids. These aren't even grown men. This isn't the NFL. This is college football where you're supposed to be able to have fun. You're a student athlete. You know? You hit the books, you hit the field, and you have a little fun. And that's how that works. But lo and behold, a punter. It's not even showboating, people. It's not even showboating. He simply spreads his arms just a little bit. He's got the ball in one hand. He's probably never scored a touchdown in his life because he's a punter. It was kind of funny. I remember I played a little high school football. I didn't play college football. I'm in college now. Obviously, I'm not playing football. But I played a little high school football. One day, I was playing scout team QB in practice. Yeah, don't ask me why. I was feeling a little zany or something like that. I'll play scout team QB, coach. Sure, why not? You know? And so they tell me to pooch punt it. Pooch punt's like a quick kick, you know? It looks like you're going to run a regular play, but then whoever takes the snap, usually the quarterback, will quickly kick it. Well, I pulled off one of those. I did that. And that ball sailed. I mean, oh, man, I accidentally booted probably a 45, 50-some-odd yard punt. And the first thing that entered my head was, please, don't make me a punter. It's true, folks. It's true. I said, don't, please, 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 please do not make me a punter. Because as much as respect as I have for all athletes, I will say that the kicking staff, they sort of get the least amount of respect, unless your name is Sebastian Janikowski and you can boot it from 70 yards out, no problem. Other than that, oh no, you're just a kicker. Just a kicker. Not even a real football player. So the football player, yeah, I'll call him a football player, the punter from LSU, who is a football player. He gets called for unsportsmanlike conduct, scoring a touchdown. Now, that's not fun for me. That's not fun for anybody. You know, there might be some sticks in the mud out there saying, oh, you know, he was just doing his job. Or he wasn't doing his job. He was making a mockery of the game. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. No, he's doing more than that. He's scoring touchdowns because he's an athlete. That's what's happening there. Elsewhere in college football, you know, we had the huge game between Nebraska and Ohio State. And Ohio State came out on fire. Boy. After all the troubles they've had, and still they were looking pretty good against Nebraska. But you know what? Those Huskers, they pulled it out. It was close. They pulled it out. But you know me, I'm a big pro sports guy. You know, by the way, you are listening to The Sporting Edge on KDPS. This is Matt Herrin, usually alongside Jon Kelly. He's not with me tonight, battling a sore throat. But that's cool. You know, I'm a pro sports guy. And what's troubling me now is the NBA. Now, my partner Jon Kelly, he says, you know, the NBA's locked out, but no one cares. No one cares. You know, I have to disagree. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's plenty of people out there that care. There are plenty of cities, entire cities out there that care. You know? Like New Orleans, I bet you they care that there's not an NBA season about to happen. You know? As much trouble as that city has gone through. So what happens now? They've got the giant stadium there where the Hornets would play and they'd pull in, you know, a packed house every night because I don't know how it happens, but New Orleans sports, boy, they're doing really, really well. That's no doubt. So what happens to all those people that are, you know, all those tickets that are sold to those NBA games, all those people that are selling hot dogs and corn and popcorn in the stands and such, you know, get your ice cold beer. No, there's none of that. Those people, they're not doing anything this NBA season. You know, it hurts more than just the players. That's just it. It hurts more than just the players. It hurts entire populations. Yeah, that's sad, you know? In the NBA, you know, and the way I figure it is, it's kind of like the NFL. See, people so quickly forget that the NFL just had a lockout. You know, we didn't have an off season in the NFL. So in the NBA, the hope is, in the final hour, they're able to get something done. Because that's the way the NFL did it. You know what I mean? If the NFL is able to manage those billions of dollars, why can't the NBA? You know, it's kind of funny. Is the NBA players already right now, before a new deal is done, the previous deal that they're trying to work out right now, or the current deal they're trying to work out right now, the players before, they were getting 57% of all the money brought in by the NBA. You know, that's a majority even. Not like the NFL, you know. No, the players are getting 57%. You know how much money that is if they say go down to 50%? Yeah, and that's where the trouble lies for the NBA and the executives and, you know, David Stern. You know, David Stern, the commissioner of the NBA, he's only the best sports commissioner in sports. So I figure he'll figure out a way to get it done. All right. Well, I'm going to take a little bit of a break. We'll be right back. We'll still be talking. We still have NFL football. We got Major League Baseball. And did anybody hear that the NHL season started? It's a Sporting Edge. I'm Matt Herrin. And welcome back to the Edge 88 KDPS. This is the Sporting Edge with yours truly, Matt Herrin, usually alongside Jon Kelly. It's a good thing it's warm because it's, you know, baseball's still going on. Yeah, the playoffs have started and they're in full swing. And a few surprises in the Major League Baseball playoffs. The Phillies went down, number 1 seed. Yeah, so did the Yankees, if you didn't hear me talk about that earlier. Yeah, the Yankees lost. And I love it when the Yankees lose. You know, I'm just not a big fan of that whole, like, I'm going to buy my team and we're going to win. That's why I like the Florida Marlins. Yeah, those guys. They do it right. I don't know how they do it, but if they're going to, but I guess that's right. You know? They don't spend entirely, they don't spend a whole lot of money. They don't spend they barely spend a fraction of the money that the Yankees spend. And still, they do pretty good. You know, they only won a World Series 2 years ago or so. Yeah. How about that, eh? Yeah. So, the Tigers, they're playing the Texans now. Yeah. Or, excuse me, not the Texans, but they're playing the Texas Rangers. Yeah. And that game has been postponed due to rain. How about that, huh? Game 2. Yeah. The Rangers won the first one, so they do lead the series 1-0. But boy, oh boy, there are 2 teams in the Major League Baseball playoffs right now that I can't. You just have to love. You can't help it. You can't help it. I'm talking about the St. Louis Cardinals and the Milwaukee Brewers. Oh yeah, the Brew Crew. You know, this is like the all-beer playoff game or playoff series. You know, that's pretty cool to me. Maybe I've exposed too much, but anyway, yeah. And the Brewers, they pulled one out today, or not pulled one out, but they put up 9 runs. Hey, I tell you what, the St. Louis Cardinals put up 6 runs. Yeah, the Brew Crew got an all-hands-on-deck effort to beat the St. Louis Cardinals today. Yeah. You know who's awesome? First baseman for the Brew Crew. Mr. Prince Fielder. Yeah, that's Cecil Fielder's boy. If you're older or you happen to know baseball, Cecil Fielder, he's only a Hall of Famer. His son plays first base for the Milwaukee Brewers, and he's an all-star. I mean, how good is that? That is just plain awesome. That's like every father's dream. You know, I'm going to have a son, And when my son gets old enough, he's going to play some ball. And maybe he'll move on to some college ball. He'll play Division I college ball. Yeah, and then he'll get picked up by a team. He'll be drafted. Yep, that's my boy, getting drafted. You know, that's awesome. Wow. Not only are you yourself a Hall of Famer, but then you've got an all-pro son at first base and Prince Fielder. That's pretty awesome. So, yeah. Major League Baseball is in full effect. Did anybody hear? This is what blows my mind. Did anybody hear? It's been kept really, really quiet. The NHL season started. Huh? Yeah, it's true. They're 2 games in. Red Wings are 2-0. How about that? Yeah. I don't think I have seen a quieter start to a professional sports season. You know, there was a time when hockey was definitely in the top 4. You know, there's football, there's baseball, there's basketball, and there was hockey. Hockey's barely there anymore. I mean, you know what beats hockey? Tiger playing golf. Yeah, you said it. You heard it. I said it. You heard it. Yeah. Tiger Woods played some tournament over the weekend. Not very big. Yeah. They sold 5 times as many tickets as they did last year for Tiger Woods because Tiger Woods was playing. Yeah. So, when it comes to pro sports in the United States these days, I'm going to say it goes football. And, well, with the lockout right now, makes it a little tricky. It's like football and basketball, and they're interchangeable. Yeah, I said that too. Was America's pastime was baseball? And that's not the case anymore. No. In fact, did anyone, I bet everyone did, last season, that NBA season. It was pretty exciting. I'm sure everyone at some point in time heard something about it. Whether you're a casual fan or a non-fan or a diehard like myself. Yeah, that NBA season had so much going on, so much drama and excitement that you had to hear about it. You had to. Yeah, if you didn't, I don't know where you were. I mean, were you underneath a rock or something? You know, you had the whole thing down in Miami? But you know what really took the cake last year in the NBA season was the intensity of the play. Yeah, it's unbelievable, right? You know, that's the biggest complaint about NBA basketball. Yeah, no one's going to miss it. This guy is going to miss it. You know, I know a few people that are going to miss it. I'm already missing it. You know, I'd like to thank everyone that's currently listening in Des Moines, Iowa, as well as everyone across the country listening to us stream live on KDPS Radio.com. I'm Matt Herrin. It's the Sporting Edge. Just talking sports. Yeah. So the Major League Baseball playoffs are in full swing. Except for all the rain. Yeah. Was anyone else shocked by the Philadelphia Phillies losing so quickly? Going down in the first round? I was. Definitely. They were built to win this year, I heard people say. It's true. They have a really good team, you know. Oh, they got a stable of pitchers. Roy Halladay. Yeah, there's more. Oh, man, their best player went down the last game of their season, you know. Big guy, also a first baseman. It's not coming to me. It'll come back to me. Howard. Yeah, Howard went down for the Philadelphia Phillies. Yeah, pulled his or tore his Achilles tendon. That's a painful one. His timetable for a return? Uncertain. That's a big blow, especially to a team that was supposed to be built to win the championship this season, to win the World Series this season. And the Flyers are at home now. Yep. Yeah. But you know who's not at home? The St. Louis Cardinals. Yeah. Who knew? Who would have thunk? You know, they barely scraped into the playoffs. In fact, the St. Louis Cardinals happened to get in to the Major League Baseball playoffs on the most exciting day of baseball I have ever seen. I think it's the most exciting day ever in baseball. You had teams that were playing to get in. You had teams that were close and came short. And then you had a team, of course, like the St. Louis Cardinals, that was able to do what they had to do and get themselves into the Major League Baseball playoffs. And what do? Knock out the number 1 seed, Philadelphia Phillies. You know what? Pujols and that Cardinal team, they lost tonight. They did. They're sort of like, the Brewers and the Cardinals are a whole lot alike. They got stud all over the field. I mean, the Brewers with Braun and Fielder, I mean, they've got studs. I mean, they've built their team through the draft, and it's awesome. That's what's going on in Milwaukee, the good land. Yeah. St. Louis, boy, I love that city. St. Louis is a great town. It's a great sports town. They've got the Blues, Cardinals, the Rams. Yeah, St. Louis, it's a blast. It's a ball. And right now, those fans, they're loving it. Because you know what they love in St. Louis? They love baseball in St. Louis. And the Cardinals, that's the heart and soul of that city. Heart and soul. So, if there's anyone down there in Missouri listening, there you go. Yeah. But I still can't get over how quiet the NHL season started. I mean, they're on Versus. They play games on Versus. I think they've got a new TV deal where they'll start showing games on broadcast TV. I can't recall if it's ABC or NBC. So they're going to be on television. They're on channels that people watch even. I mean, no offense to Versus or anything like that. They've got quality programming and NHL hockey, but no one knows it. That's just it, except for the die-hard fans, of course, know. But professional leagues in the United States don't make their money from the die-hard fans. I mean, sure, they make some, but it's really how many of those casual fans can you grab, How many of those casual fans can you grab? How many baseball caps can you sell to people that don't even care about the sport? And I'm a sucker, just like a lot of people. Yeah, even the Yankee ones. I love it when they lose, but I will support that sport team. It's to people that don't even care about the sport. Of course, no. But professional leagues in the United States don't make their money from the diehard fans. I mean, sure, they make some, but it's really how many of those casual fans can you grab, How many of those casual fans can you grab? How many baseball caps can you sell to people that don't even care about the sport? And I'm a sucker, just like a lot of people. My mother is from New York. So for some odd reason, I like the New York hats. Yeah, even the Yankee ones. I love it when they lose, but I will sport that hat. It's a good-looking hat. That's why. Sometimes it's not about sport allegiance. It's not your team. It's about style sometimes. Yeah.